Rise of Iron introduced a number of underwhelming exotics. They were never going to dethrone the already proven exotics that have been staples since the dawn of Destiny, such as the armamentarium, the Heart of the Plastic Fire, and Mask of the Third Man. But in the latest DLC, we were given the Dunemarchers, a Titan exotic leg armor which grants multiple bonuses, although none that are particularly interesting. The Dunemarchers are actually subclass neutral, but will ultimately perform better with some subclasses over others. Before getting into the exotic perk, the Dunemarchers have the terrible elemental double down perk, featured on many other exotic boots. This perk kills most exotic boots, when there are so many other options that could replace it and be far more viable. The Dunes can also be re-rolled to have any of the special or heavy weapon ammo perks, which is inferior to the overall increased special or heavy ammo perk. This already disadvantages the Dunes, as the Titan has multiple exotics with the increased special or heavy ammo perk, such as the armamentarium and twilight garrison. But still, the increased ammo perk you want is up to you. The exotic perk grants increased sprint speed, increased movement speed while aiming, and a tighter turn radius while sprinting. Firstly, I've never particularly rated the tighter turn radius perk on any class, except maybe on the Hunter with the Frosties, where you can literally sit behind a wall and sprint on the spot to cool down your abilities, but outside that, I've never found it useful. Having faster movement speed while aiming is taken from the Hunter's Radiant Dance Machines, which has never been a popular exotic, and the faster sprint speed is taken from the Striker subclass, so it's clear that this exotic is pointing towards a speed-based build, which isn't bad for a Titan given their already good speed with Titan Skating and Shoulder Charge. But still, there are some builds that wouldn't be ideal for the Dunes, so let's talk about the subclasses. Just quickly, I've re-rolled my Dunes to be tier 12 capable with a 99% roll, but honestly, this exotic doesn't particularly benefit from any stat, so choose the configuration you like. I personally chose a 5-5-2 setup. Alright, so starting with the Defender, it would probably not be worth your time here. You don't typically see defenders skating to put their defender bubble down in a particular spot, and given options like the no backup plans and the Helm of the Saint 14, give the Defender a miss. The Sunbreaker does have more potential for a speed build, with perks like Sun Charge and Fleet Fire, but do you really need the Dunes to enhance an already quick build? I don't know. But I would still prefer Twilight Garrison to give me increased mobility that also has evasive properties. So finally we have the Striker, which would be my suggested subclass to use with the Dunes. The fact that you pretty much get Headstrong for free, you can use Transfusion, which is what I'd use anyway. Having a faster sprint speed would increase the potential of Shoulder Charge, since you can close the distance between you and an enemy quicker than you would otherwise. Or you could use Juggernaut to bring up a defensive shield. Since the nerf to Juggernaut, which stops the shield from triggering while airborne, I would suggest against it, and using Shoulder Charge instead. So assuming this is the build that is the most optimal for the Dunemarchers, where would it be useful? Well, I think we can pretty much rule out PvE, as Shoulder Charge has never been overly useful and there are already exotics like the Peregrine Greaves to increase its potency. So what about PvP? Having high speed and great mobility is very ideal for the Titan, which can make them a handful to deal with if they're constantly flying at you. I'd typically go with the Peregrine Greaves for a Shoulder Charge build, but since they only really have use in the Mayhem playlist against other supers, the Dunes are a more practical choice. Also, since the recent buff that increased Shoulder Charge's damage to one-shot pretty much all regular armoured guardians, go with the Dunes. So would I recommend the Dunes in PvE? Not at all. In PvP though, if you're an avid Shoulder Charger like me, and you like to skate at high speeds and clean up guardians while they have a chance to react, then you too might like the Dunes. The faster movement while aiming and tighter turn radius also aren't wasted, and they might prove useful in some scenarios, but they're more of just a handy bonus that often will help you without you realising. Although it may take some getting used to, as I overcorrected a number of times while shoulder charging someone, because the tighter turn radius spun me further than I anticipated. But still, it's a very fun exotic to use in smaller Crucible maps. If you really want a more defensive and all-around Titan exotic for the Crucible, go with the Twilight Garrison. Thanks for watching, catch you on the next vid.